Welcome back to Bless Your Heart, I'm Talking, the podcast. Something I realized that I didn't do on the first episode of the rebrand was I don't think I did this, talk about why I came up with the name for the podcast. It's obviously, I say bless your heart a lot, y'all. I'm known for it. It's not just a gimmick. It just comes out of my mouth or the tips of my fingers when I'm typing. I love to tell people to bless your heart. I don't mean it nice most times, but occasionally I do. So obviously, bless your heart came from that. But really what it came from is I wanted the podcast to be more of a Southern goodbye. So I may have talked about this. I talk so much, I question myself. But a Southern goodbye is when you have you're just talk when you're trying to leave. So you stand at the door and you talk about everything and nothing at the same time. Like it's nothing important, or maybe it is. Anything could come up, anything, and you're not going to leave. And if you got two Southerners that like to talk, it's the longest part of the entire visit is the goodbye. I'm not trying to make mine long, but it's going to be all over the place, just like a Southern goodbye. You might swap a recipe. You might catch up on some gossip. It can be anything and nothing all at the same time. So that is the idea behind the podcast is bless your heart, I'm still talking, because we can't stop talking even when we're trying to leave. So I just want to make sure that I kind of put that out there, because that was kind of people have asked me why I named it that, and that is why I named it that. And, when I was sitting here thinking about what is the second episode going to be about, I catch myself kind of doing ones that are more deep thought, like about feelings and about relationships and stuff. And y'all, if you sit down with me, I'm really just kind of funny. I'm not really a deep talker in person all the time. I mean, I have to be really close to you. So this is really kind of what a porch conversation looks like. Sometimes when we're sitting on the porch and it's me and my girlfriends and we're just chit-chatting and everything, we're going to talk about some deep conversations about relationships or about whatever we need to, careers, money, whatever it needs to be. Or we're going to be just funny and stupid. It can go either way. So that's really kind of how this podcast is. And I'm sorry if it doesn't make you laugh every time. And I'm sorry if it makes you cry sometimes. You just don't know what you're going to get. It could be whatever I want to talk about that particular week. And this week, I don't really have a set game plan. I felt like last week I kind of had more of a serious conversation with y'all about friendships and stuff. And so I didn't really want to do that again. I really wanted to do something a little bit more lighthearted. And and I have a little bit of a cabin update. So I'm not going to do crazy updates all the time, but I'm going to tell you, it's summer. I finally got to go fucking swimming. I am meant to be in the water. I am a thick Texas woman, and the only thing that's going to cool me down in this heat is going to be water. So the last 2 weekends, the weekend before last, I had a girls' weekend, and I went to the cabin with Erica and Mary. We had a great weekend. We ended up driving. My cabin is in the hill country in San Saba, Texas, or right outside of San Saba, Texas, and it's on my grandfather's original property and his family. It's been in the family a long time. Anyways, it's on the Colorado River, and it's beautiful. And we fish down there, we swim down there, but it is a red dirt kind of sediment river. So it's not one of those rivers that you look and you're like, oh, that looks real clean. It's just as clean as any other river, but it's a red dirt. It's not as clear as what you're going to see in like the Guadalupe or the Frio. But it's just as lovely. But whenever we have a day where we can actually have time to leave, we'll go to other rivers and try other rivers because we're in the hill country and they're everywhere. And so we decided to go to Castile, Texas, which if you are a Texan and you like to do just like day trips and go swimming, something cheap and fun, if you're like a single mom within an hour and a half, 2 hours of Central Texas, highly recommend this just for the day. You can go to Llano, Texas. And then from Llano, you can get into the river in Llano, directly into the Llano River, or you can drive about 20 minutes further and go to Castile, Texas. In Castile, the only thing in Castile is a little general store. That's it. And it's a bunch of Airbnbs, and it's the river. But it's not like really busy. Like other places you go, like if you go to the Guadalupe, or you go to Comel, or you go to Frio, there's just tons of people there because everybody knows to go to it. And the Llano is just as pretty a river. but it's just not as well known. I don't know why. Thank God. I'm glad. And it's not really a river that you float like it is in Guadalupe and there's a bunch of rapids. This is more of a swimming river or wading river. So I go out with my girlfriends, and then I go this weekend with Rick and his brothers. So we have had just 2 completely different weekends. So last weekend when I go, it's just real chill. It's me and my girlfriends. We're just hanging out. We're doing a lot of eating. We're doing a lot of drinking and just catching up. We went to the river. Mary was like, I'm going to pass. She will not get in the water, y'all. She is a city girl. So Erica get in the water, and I laugh because Erica and I have been friends for 45 years, and since we were 5 years old, and we're 50. And we get there, and I look at the river, and I'm like, hey, I'll race you to the other side. And she was like, okay. So we get into it, and we have these little pool noodles that we're going to use. And so we get into the pool noodles, and we're going to take off across the river. But when you get into the spot we were in, there's a lot of rocks, there's a lot of sediments. It is kind of difficult to get in and out of the river right there. So I kind of Erica's kind of stumbling to get in. It's not going real smooth. We realize maybe we're not going to race, but we go out into the middle of the river and we just have a good time, and we just, chill out and make some sandwiches, eat lots of watermelon, have a wonderful time, leave there, go back to the cabin and just relax. Wonderful time. Go back this week. I've got Rick. I've got his 2 brothers he's raised with, and now he has a bonus brother. We did not know he had a younger brother till recently. So younger brother joined us as well. So we had a brother weekend. And this is the first time they've ever spent more than a dinner together. And and he's only 19, y'all. So Rick is 45. Rick's daughter's older than his new brother. So new brother comes out there with a friend, and we had the best time. It was the coolest thing to be part of that, because they just, they didn't know each other really. And they got to spend a whole weekend together at the cabin, and they fished, and, Rick's nephew came, and he's only 9, I think. And he got to fish, and they just did all the cool stuff. And then we went back swimming in Castile and had a wonderful time in Castile. And it was just really cool to see the relationships because they got this new brother, and for them to accept him. And you have to think, these guys are all late 30s to 45. And they've got a new 19-year-old brother. That's crazy stuff, to wrap your head around from both sides, So we got to do that, and it was really cool. And then I had to come back, and I'm fucking exhausted. And I'm going to tell you, you know how when you get older and you're going through menopause, or even if you're not going through menopause, things start to bother you. And I used to think that women, when they got this age, that when they hit menopause, that they became Karens. Suddenly they just got to be some asshole, and it didn't make any sense. And, why are those ladies so mean? Y'all, I fucking get it. I'm having a hard time judging some Karens right now. And this is an unpopular opinion, I'm sure. But I try to always make excuses for people on why they might be stupid or doing something I think is stupid. And because, I don't know what they're doing. They might have a logical reason why they're doing what they're doing. But I'm going to tell you something there is no logic to me whatsoever for this. Okay. There's no logic. There's just very little logic. There's very few things that this should happen this way. Okay. Going to the grocery store during prime hours, I'm talking a Saturday or Sunday, you go to the grocery store with the mom, the dad, and all the kids. And I'm talking teenagers, little kids, all kinds of kids, okay? Why does your family of 4 or 5 need to be at the grocery store together? Why do you need 5 of you there together? Can one of you not make decisions? Do you not trust the other one with the card? Why does it need to be? I understand kids have to be with you. I was a single parent. There were times I had to take my kids. Let me tell you, I tried everything I could not to take those kids because it's inconvenient as the parent, but it's also inconvenient for all the other shoppers. And we got these assholes that are taking up literally 8 feet on the aisle in front of groceries that you can't get to. And meanwhile, the kids can fit in the basket, but they're not putting them in the basket. No, no, no. In fact, sometimes they let them push the basket because, that's a good idea. Let's have little kids push the basket while we got everybody else and their dog trying to get to the fucking mac and cheese, and you can't get to it because little Johnny wants to push the basket that is twice his size. And then the parents are like, hey, no problem. Yeah, we'll just wait for Johnny. Oh, he's just being cute. It's no big deal. Everybody loves this. I don't like it, y'all. I don't like it. I love my kids, but I don't like my kids when they're in a grocery store and they're insisting on pushing the basket. And that's why I didn't take them to the grocery store. So I sure the hell don't want to watch your kid do it. And I don't think it's cute. Don't think any of it's cute. Go to the grocery store today, same, every aisle. Every aisle was a full fucking family. I'm like, what is going on? Unless you're a single mom and you legit have no choice, if you have 2 spouses, I'm judging you. I'm absolutely judging you. Unless you're like on vacation. And if this is a vacation, if I lived in Destin and I saw this, I'd be like, oh, okay. They're grocery shopping for their Airbnb. You know what I mean? Like I literally search for reasons why they're this stupid, and I don't have it. And if you're one of these people, I am so sorry you're this stupid and I'm this mean. And the other thing that pisses me off, and I'm like, I don't think I'm being a Karen here. I think it's inconsiderate. Here's another thing. I think it's probably more of a Southern thing than a Northern thing, but I think it probably happens everywhere. But when you go to the gas station and they have like the diesel, you're not supposed to get in the diesel line. So some gas stations, all the pumps do diesel as well as unleaded and everything. But some gas stations, only 1 or 2 pumps pump diesel. So you don't want to be a dick and use that for unleaded unless you have to, because you want to leave it available for somebody that has diesel, because they can't just get any pump. There's only 2 options for them. So I'm like, okay, I'm always aware of that because, I have a significant other that had a diesel for a long time and I grew up around work trucks. I'm familiar with how frustrating it can be. But if I get to a gas station and the only pump available is diesel and everybody else is like at a pump, I'm not going to go wait for a different line so that just in case somebody that has a diesel pulls up. Like, this isn't a handicapped bathroom. Like, in a handicapped bathroom, yeah, you want to leave that available for them because they could just pop up, right? But this isn't a handicapped bathroom. They can wait because you're going to have to wait at the other aisle. And the reason I say this is that a few weeks ago, I'm at the gas station and I see this little girl is parked at the diesel, right? And she's young, and so she's getting her gas, and I'm getting gas. I had to wait to get my gas spot, so I'm assuming she took that spot because it was probably the only spot available because it was a very busy gas station. And so she pulls up, she starts getting her gas. I'm getting my gas. I'm right across from her, and this diesel pulls up. And he starts like huffing and puffing, and he is just like raising his arms. And this is like a 45-year-old man, and the little girl's like 22 maybe. And he is huffing and puffing. He's throwing his arms in the air. He's doing everything but honk the horn to make it clear that he is pissed. She's in a little car. It's obviously not a diesel, that she is in the diesel thing. So did he really think she was going to wait in line for one of the other pumps just in case he came along? Like, I don't think I'm a Karen for thinking that's a dick move. I do not think that's a Karen. I will say I held my tongue. If I had felt like she was scared or, she quickly finished and left. If I'd felt like I needed to, I would have stepped up because I'm being an older woman. I would have been like, shut the fuck up. She's probably not there yet in life, but she kind of moved it along. And honestly, I don't think she even knew the rule. I mean, young drivers, most of them don't know that, but come on. Is that being a Karen by thinking he's being a dick? Like, it seems like he's the Karen here. That's kind of my thought process on it. And I'm sorry if any of your names are Karen. I apologize. I didn't make up the term, but here we are. So it is what it is. So the other thing that I was like thinking about things that just make me mad. And I was like, am I becoming a Karen right now? Like, I do filter this through things. I don't want to be a fucking bitch, man. I mean, I will be, but I don't want to be one. Nobody wants to be that person. But the other thing is that I keep making my circle smaller. And I've always been really good about having a lot of friends, and I'm pretty social. But I catch myself not wanting to take phone calls sometimes, or, hesitant on plans, or, whatever. And I'm just like, do I want to give this person that time? And that's such a shitty thing to say, because you care about the person, but you can care about people and not give them too much time. Like, you can just give them a little, because, you got other people you care about a lot that depend on you and your time. And I don't know. So I start thinking as I get older, is this just part of being older? I don't know if that's a Karen thing. It's just a part of getting older. And the other thing about getting older that's fucking insane is, this is menopause related, I think. Do you nest when you're in menopause or perimenopause? Is that you know how when you're about to have a baby, you start nesting? So in the last 6 weeks of the pregnancy, or 2 months or whatever, you start you have a need to clean. It's not even, you're exhausted and you don't feel like it, but you've got to do it. Your body and your mind are telling you, I need to get ready. I need to get ready for this baby. So what am I getting ready for now? Why am I nesting in perimenopause? I have caught myself enjoying cleaning. I look forward to it. Some days I get up in the morning with a whole plan of the things I'm going to clean, and I'm not dreading or upset about it. That's weird. Who the fuck is this bitch that suddenly likes to clean? And I go to the cabin and I clean like crazy at the cabin. I mean, I clean all the time at the cabin. What is wrong with me? Am I nesting? Is this a thing? Do you nest? Are you going around cleaning shit? I want to know if people are going around cleaning shit, thinking to themselves, why am I doing this? This is out of control. Because I'm not I've lived my whole life OCD. I used to drive my mom nuts. I could not keep my room clean to save my life. As a 20-something-year-old mom, I could not keep my house under control. I was fighting that fight forever, getting under these kids, And now I have no problem. Not only am I doing it and getting it under control all the time, it's always under the control, but I enjoy it. And I think that's fucking weird, and I don't know what's wrong with me. So old age is weird, man. It makes you do some weird shit, And the other day, I don't know if you notice weird stuff that you do when you're a couple. So I don't want to say I don't pay attention to Rick, because I do. But I guess I'm not good at details. He always says that I would be a horrible lookout. I just don't notice details. I'd be a horrible, PI, because I just miss shit all the time. And I notice people. I'm going to notice if I need to be wary of somebody, or the case is. But I'm saying I'm not going to remember what color shirt he's got on. That's basically. And this is before menopause. I've always been like that. Well, Rick notices everything. And Rick is like, why do you hum all the time? Why do you do that weird humming thing? And I'm like, and it started because actually this is a few weeks ago, Eric and I were out there on at the cabin, and we're sitting on the porch, and she's teasing me about how I can't sing. And then I'm telling Rick the story, and I'm like, yeah, because just no one wants to hear that. He's like, oh, the humming? No, my singing. And he was like, no, it's not the humming. No, what humming are you talking about? What do you mean? Who the fuck is humming? You hum. Lady, you hum all the time. If you don't know the words to a song, you will hum the whole song. I'm like, no, I don't. Do I hum? No, I don't. Oh, yeah, you hum all the time. It's like, So I'm start noticing it. So now I realize I really do hum all the time. But it's not because I don't know the words. I'm paying attention to my humming now, and I really do know the words. So I think I just like to hum, and I don't realize that I'm doing it. Do y'all hum? Is that something y'all do? I'm talking we're in the car and music's on, and I'm like, No idea. I had no idea. And I do it all the time, and I had absolutely no idea. So I was just like, what does he do that he doesn't know that he does? And we haven't found something yet. So either I'm just not paying attention, or he's not doing all that weird shit that I'm doing. Kind of explains a lot, I guess. I don't know. But I was like, damn, I really do hum all the time. The other thing that I wanted to kind of talk about was, I had this conversation this weekend. So at the cabin this weekend, I had Rick's three brothers he was raised, or two brothers he was raised with. Rick, obviously, so those three brothers. The new brothers brought a friend with him, and then one of the brothers brought a son, and one of the brothers brought a girl that he's been dating, and then Madison, my stepdaughter, was there. And so it was a really large group. Everything went really smooth and everything. But I tell all my stories. Like, if I know something about something, I'm going to tell whoever's with me. And I have a habit of repeating things. Like, I don't know who I've told that story to. And so I'm going to tell it again because I just saw it and it reminded me of it. And you can imagine when we're out at the cabin, this is my hometown. This is where my family is. Everywhere I turn, there's going to be something that I'm going to be like, oh, that's so-and-so. And in 1864, like, I'm just like a little random fact thrower outer. And it could be something that is so fucking stupid and important. And I'll be like, oh, yeah. This is one of my stories. I'm not even making this one up. One of the songs, Eastbound and Down, came on, like, Eastbound and Down, rolling up. See, there's the singing. That song from Smokey and the Bandit came on. And I lived in San Saba when the movie came out in the 70s originally. And that was a big deal. That movie was a big deal. And so those Trans Ams were everywhere with, like, the eagle on the front of them. And so the dealership in San Saba, there used to be a dealership there that sold Chevy. And they had that. And I drove by it when I was a kid, and they had all the Trans Ams, and they had all the, eagles on the front. And I can remember driving by, and that song is on the radio, and I'm looking at all the, bandit-looking cars. They all look just like the Bandit. And I'm like, this is so cool. Like, this is, I'm from the country and hippies. I don't know, like, city people. So even the hippies I knew, they were like Cajun country people. I don't know how to explain Austin. I don't know how to explain them. But they weren't like Dallas or like Houston people. It's just a completely different thing. And in my head, the only person that would ever own a Trans Am is a really cool city person. And so I'm like, that's so city. Like, that's such a city. I'm like 4 years old, y'all. 5 maybe. I'm like, that's so. And I can remember, like, literally remember 1979, driving down this particular road, looking at those cars, thinking how city that was. And it was cool. It was in San Saba. And the song was on the radio, and I was in the back seat. My brother was next to me, and my mom was I remember that just clear as day. Cannot remember what I ate for breakfast. And am I going to tell everybody when that song comes on, that story? And am I going to tell everybody when I drive by where the dealership used to be, which it no longer is that dealership, now it's like a gas place? I'm still going to tell you. What is wrong with me? Do I think people want to know that? No. Why would they want to know that I thought in 1979 that shit was so city? Like, I should know when to stop talking, and bless my heart, I don't. And I just, and so Rick's over there, yep, 1979, Smokey and the Bandit. Like, he just lets me know he's heard the story 1,000 times. So as we pass things, he's going to bring it up. So in between San Saba and Llano, or really in between Cherokee and Llano, there is a cemetery called Baby Head Cemetery. And I took my girlfriends out to Baby Head Cemetery. We were driving by it the weekend before, Mary and Erica and I was like, oh, y'all, right up the road, there's Baby Head Cemetery. Here's the story of Baby Head Cemetery. And I tell them the story of Baby Head Cemetery. Y'all feel free to look it up. I'm not going to because, apparently not everybody wants to hear these stories. But Baby Head Cemetery. So I tell them the story. We start to pull up. Mary thinks it's cool. She wants to take a picture. We jump out. We take a picture. We get back in the car. We go on to the next destination. Okay. 5 days later, I'm driving down the same road with Rick and his new brother and his new brother's friend, because that's who rode with us back to Llano to the river. And we're about to pass Baby Head Cemetery. Of course, this is the opportunity to tell him. He's never been there. I know. I've never told this kid this story, or his friend, because they never been in the car with me. And I'm like, I can't. Rick's going to give me a hard time if I bring up the story, like I know he is, because he's so sick of my stories. So right as we almost got there, he goes, Zada, aren't you going to tell him about Baby Head Cemetery? This is where Zada tells you the story about Baby Head Cemetery. I was like, no, I'm not going to tell him the story of Baby Head Cemetery. And he was like, I'll tell you the story of Baby Head Cemetery. So then he imitates me telling the story of Baby Head Cemetery. So then we get there, and his brothers are there, and they're like, oh yeah, and I tell him what he's doing. He's making fun of me for telling the stories, and I go, but then he turns around and tells the story himself, and his brother goes, "Was it the Babyhead Cemetery? Is that the story he told?" I'm like, yes, it is. And he was like, I knew he'd tell the story because he told me the story when him and I were in the car riding by it together. So when we drove past it, because his brother was following us, I knew he was telling Colby the story about Babyhead Cemetery. I was like, yeah, but it's my story. So he stole my story and told you, and now he's telling him, and he's giving me a hard time for telling people the story of Babyhead Cemetery. And yes, so maybe that's the weird thing he does. Maybe he steals my stories, but he doesn't steal them and act like they're his. He steals them and by making fun of me for telling them, imitates me telling them, but really he just wants to tell a story. That's what I think. I think he just wants to steal my thunder, y'all. That's what I think. Anyways, y'all get the idea. So that's his weird thing, I guess. Is that his like weird hiccup? I don't know, but that's what he did. So we have our day out there. I tell Colby, the new brother, I'm like, there's some rapids on the other side of these rocks, but it is a hike to get there because the river is some parts you can't touch, and then other parts are so shallow you can't even like slide over them. You have to stand up and like walk for a second. It's kind of slippery, and it's a little workout, y'all, and it'll take a while. It takes about, to get where we were going, it's about a 45-minute little hike up the river, 40-minute hike. And I was like, it's not big rapids, but there's some rapids. But they're not usually real big, but they can be. I can't see it. I don't know. You know how rivers are? He was like, yeah, I want to go. I was like, oh, I'll take you, but I can't promise they're going to be great. Oh, yeah, no, I want to go. So Brad and his girlfriend are like, okay, yeah, we'll go with you too. Brad's the other brother. I'm like, all right. So the four of us take off for this little track across the river. We get going. We can't keep up with Brad and his girlfriend. They are moving along quickly. We are not. Colby and I are struggling. We finally get to the damn rapids. They are not very big rapids. They're rapids. I didn't say they were going to be. The whole time I'm trusting you, Zada. I'm trusting you. I don't know how much you need to trust me because I told you they're not big rapids. They were not big rapids. We made it though. We get there. We go down the little rapid. We sit there for a second, enjoy it. We start heading back. Brad and his girlfriend, they're gone. We cannot even come close to them. They are gone. So it's just Colby and I. And I'm trying to get him through there. He is no more graceful than me. We are falling. We are laughing. We had such a good time. That poor boy, I know when he got home today, he must have felt like he had been run over because, I'm like, put some sunscreen on to everybody, not just him. Put sunscreen on, put sunscreen on, put sunscreen on. Nobody believes you. And it was an overcast day, so it gives you like a false sense of, feeling like it's not going to be bad. No, that boy was cherry red by the time we made it back to the cabin. Bless his heart. He slept all the way back to the cabin, and then he lays down on that leather couch, and he cannot move. He is miserable. See, that's why you should listen to me. And so he did not make it through the rest of the night, but his brothers and his brother's girlfriend, they stay out there and we sit out there. We built a fire and we're sitting around the fire and we're, talking, catching up and all this kind of stuff. And as we're doing that, I'm like, I'm tired. I got to go to bed. Like we have a old school bathtub there. So I usually go in there at the end of the night and I soak in an Epsom salt bath and in one of those little claw tooth baths. So I'm doing that. They stay out there. Rick says that they're sitting out there around that fire and it's pitch black out there. Like you have to use a flashlight to walk to and from the house or, you could step on a snake or fall or something along those lines. So I've gone inside. They're out there in the pitch black and they start hearing snorting and it's like, and it's a deer. Deer snort, and there is a deer, and apparently he was about to go where they were, and he could see them, but they couldn't see him, but they could hear him. Typically, deer are going to be real quiet and run off. Why the hell was it snorting? And they finally saw it kind of like in the moonlight, and it kind of took off. And I just thought that was crazy. And so then we finished everything up. We come home today. I'm like, okay, being a mom never ends and being a wife never ends, because I get home and I'm like, okay, I need to record. I need to grocery shop. I need to get the laundry going because I've brought all the linens and the towels back from the cabin to wash. Like, I need to get doing stuff. And I start doing it. I'm like, I do it. I have to clean out my fridge to make room for the new ones. I mean, I'm got laundry going. I'm doing all this stuff. I'm assuming that Rick is out there doing all the stuff too. I finish. I go upstairs. This man is napping. He is napping, and what is wrong with me? Again, it goes back to that fucking nesting. I'm thinking this is what I need to be doing. I don't know what's wrong with me, but 25-year-old me could have really used 50-year-old me's mental capacity to want to do it with the energy of the 25-year-old, I should say. Anyway, so that's you're caught up. You're caught up. That was your talk about everything and nothing at the same time. I did want to talk about one thing that you might, I guess it's a little bit, it's serious, I guess, to a degree. I want to talk about the perception of autism. I'm not going to make a whole episode about this, and the reason I'm not going to is if you've listened to me for the last few years, or you've followed me on social media, or this podcast. I talk, particularly on social media, I used to, when my kids were younger, talk about autism, because 2 of my 4 kids are on the spectrum. And it's my younger 2 kids, and they're very high functioning. They're, pretty normal kids. And what you run into with kids that are pretty normal but still autistic is they come across as just being a little bit maybe unique compared to their counterparts. And with that, people assume people that are different like that are capable of being exactly like them. Like, they're just choosing not to do it. So, like, when you have someone that's high functioning, and let's say that one of their tics that they do, because when you're autistic, it's not unusual to do tics or to do self-stimming, that they call them different things, self-stimming things, okay? So self-stimming would be like my daughter and her aunt on her dad's side, they both bounce a lot. So, she was little in her car seat, she'd bounce because the car made her, she didn't like the feel of the vibrations, she'd get overstimulated. So she would bounce to kind of control the stimulation, I guess. And the same goes with her aunt. She does the same thing. So if she's in a job interview, she's going to stim. She's nervous. She's in a job interview. I mean, doesn't everybody get a little nervous in a job interview? I know I do. And I haven't interviewed in 10 years, but I know it's kind of nerve-wracking. And so she's going to act a little bit more autistic in an interview, and it's going to create a situation. And the situation is going to be that they're going to judge her in a bad way for self-stimulation. So if she does actually bounce, because she can't stop herself, she's it's not something you can really control. And so she's going to bounce. So typically, she's gone through years of therapy, and she's had this her whole life. So we just talked about it before the interview, and I was like, just tell them you're autistic. Just let them know I'm nervous. And I might bounce because I'm autistic, and sometimes I do that. And so some people are like, cool, no problem. I got a cousin with autism, and they kind of do that too, or they do this, and I understand. And there are a lot of people that do understand. And then there's ones that are like, no, and they're not going to give them a chance at the job. And so it makes it really hard when you're high functioning like that to find a job, because you're already walking into there where there's going to be other candidates, and now you're going to throw in that you have to tell them you're autistic, because otherwise it comes across as you're just kind of doing something weird. Or someone could think that you're like taking a drug or something crazy like that, because maybe you're bouncing, or you're moving your eyes a different way, and you don't want people to read it wrong and let them know what's going on. And it might not even be a stimulation thing that you normally do, and you're only doing it because you're so nervous. The other thing is, if you get the job, let's say the boss sees it in you, and the boss is like, hey, you got a great personality. You're really outgoing, and you're funny, or whatever it is. We're going to give you a chance, okay? So we're going to give you a chance and have you do this. So then you go, and they start working there and everything, and they act autistic. So that might mean that they're nervous. It might mean that they repeat things, or that they need the same question answered, maybe a little bit more than you're used to having to answer a question, because they just want to make sure they get it right, because their anxiety it'll really bother them. They'll overthink things, or there's a variety of things they might have to do that's just slightly different. Okay, and so now this boss that's giving them a chance has to understand that. And they have to also help the other employees understand it. Because when you're high functioning and you only have a small little quirk here and there, it's often taken as, what's really wrong with them? Are they just doing that because they're lazy? Are they doing that to get out of work? Why are they asking so many questions? Why are they bouncing? Why do they have to go to the bathroom at that time of day every day? Or, whatever it is that's maybe slightly different about them. And then you get into that, this is entry-level job. You have to think about who works at entry-level jobs. Typically, your managers are very young. I mean, Zaylee's had a manager that was still in high school. So, like an assistant manager. And that's who will be running the show for some of their shifts, And so let's say you have a really young manager. And then on top of a really young manager, you got really young employees. And some of those employees have zero life experience. And maybe they're like besties with that manager. And now you got a mean girl club, or you got someone that doesn't understand, and so they make you more nervous, so you act a little even more different, and then it creates more problems. When in reality, you're just acting autistic, and you totally told them to begin with, I'm going to do a few little things that might be a little different for you. The world is fucking cruel. And it is very unfair. And, when my kids were diagnosed and, I began telling people about it, I really kind of decided I can't make this whole world understand, but I can make my immediate people in my life understand. And the only way they're going to understand is if I tell them. So I have to tell them, yes, this person does things a little different. This is what they do. Yes, you can expect this, or this is going to happen. Like, I'm preparing people for them. And unfortunately, I can't prepare the whole world for them. And also, I'm preparing my kids for the world. But there's only so much you can prepare your kid for the whole world, because everybody else is raised differently. And so I've got two young adults right now in the middle of job searching that job searching right now is difficult. And I don't know if you've know anyone that's been looking for work, and I'm talking at many different levels. It's kind of getting hard to find. And so they're struggling, and they're competing against people that don't have to deal with that. And it's hard to watch. It's really hard to watch people be mean to your kid because no one taught them empathy, and nobody taught them about other people. Like, no one ever explained to them, you're going to encounter other people in the world that do things different than you. Or, this is what autism looks like. And so I can't prepare them for the whole world, and I can't prepare the whole world for them. So what can I do? How can I prepare, make things better for them? And the only thing that I can really do for them is just encourage for them to keep trying. But I am still speaking about it because I want to tell y'all to pass this on. I want to tell y'all to look at yourselves and think about, is there somebody in your life, either at work, church, wherever it is, somebody in your life that maybe you get frustrated with some of the things that they do that they just really can't control? And are you, how are you treating them? How gracious are you to them? Because I'm going to tell you, it's a lonely fucking world for them sometimes. And, everybody likes to think that I support autism. Oh, I know so-and-so with it, and she's great, and so-and-so with it, and he's the sweetest thing. That's great. But they're all different. They're absolutely all different. And because one acts one way, and you really recognize it because maybe they speak robotic, and you're like, oh, that's definitely autism. I'm going to treat them where I understand that they're going to be a little different. But when you have somebody that doesn't do that, and it's not the type of autism you're used to, you're going to judge it differently, and you're going to treat them accordingly based off of that. And it's just hard to watch. People will take advantage of people like that, as well as just be cruel to them. And so I just want to express to people that I really would love for y'all to look at your life and who's around it. speak to your kids about it. Speak to your moms about it. The elderly people, older people are worse than younger people, to be honest with you. But a lot of people just don't understand what it looks like and what it feels like. And, I used to work with a guy that was not diagnosed autistic, but was clearly autistic. And he was older, and you just don't really get, we didn't get diagnosed back then. But, having 2 kids on the spectrum, it's a little easier for me to spot. And so he clearly had it. And everybody was so freaking mean to him. And at work, behind his back, they would make fun of him, and they'd make little snide remarks. And, it was hard to watch. And finally, I had to pull my boss aside and be like, hey, why is this funny? Like, I don't understand what y'all are doing here, because clearly there's something going on. He's getting his job done. Because he doesn't hang with the boys at work, and he thinks he's excited about things that they aren't excited about. Like, then he leaves the room and everybody's got a joke, and it's making me think less of them. You don't want to be the person people think less of because how you speak about other people when you leave the room, especially somebody that's got a special need. So I'm just kind of asking everybody to kind of do a little self-evaluation right there. And it doesn't have to be just about autism, obviously. But, I've had this conversation with many people, and especially when my kids were little and they'd get bullied at school, and I would finally get to talk to the other parent, or I'd get to talk to the school about it. And, one of the conversations I was had with, can you imagine if people bullied a kid for having a seizure that was epileptic? Can you imagine people bullying a Down syndrome kid for looking like they have Down syndrome? Would they bully a kid? What? How is it any different than an autistic kid acting autistic because they're autistic? And autism comes in all different scales. And so I just really want to ask people to really kind of internalize what kind of person they are and what kind of person they want to be and how they want to present themselves. And, I'll be honest with you, I get frustrated. It's hard for me sometimes, but I also frustrate them. It goes both ways because I'm doing weird shit to them. The way I think is weird to them, and the way I, control I don't bounce because I get overstimulated. I raise my voice a little, or I leave the room, or overreact, or whatever. Like, I got my own faults with overstimulation, and I don't even have autism. So I think we got to put our feet in everybody's shoes, I guess, and maybe walk a mile. And so I just want to pass that on. So that's all I have for this week. And please join me again next week. And again, if you would like to buy any of my merch, it is on Pinterest under Zada.Owens. I will continue to try to get the link up there. And I am constantly updating them. I'm working on the logo, so it's going to change. It's really not going to change. I'm just going to change how I put it on the t-shirt. So that's about to update and change. And then I have a bunch of other little funny things on there, including my little well shit line. You'll notice quite a few things that just say well shit. Well, I say well shit a lot, and I had a hat that said well shit, and I gave it to my brother, and he wore it like crazy, so I decided I needed to sell that. So I have a t-shirt, and I have a hat and some other things, and I would love for y'all to buy those up, and I really appreciate it. And join us again next week, and I'll have an interview next week, actually. And check me out, leave a review, like, comment, share, bring a friend, and bless your heart. I'm talking. Be back next week.